Thanks for all the one-handed claps there, for sure. Okay. Most everybody in here knows of Uwe Gordon, but I'm going to give you a little more background information so you know where he came from, how he got started in the school system. Uwe has been a resident of Stillwater community since arriving in the fall of 1979, attended OSU. He earned both his bachelor's and master's degree in education. In August of 1984, he began his teaching career at junior high, where he taught civics. Back then they called it civics, so it could have been questionable that you could have found that over here. He served for 10 years. I will ask in here, we already know a couple, how many had kids? Like me, if you're older, you've had kids that he was the teacher for? Or, okay, several of you, and then maybe a few of you in here that actually had him, the younger ones. Right there, Matt. Okay, and what I found out, I'm taking a little pause here. What I found out is most everybody, including my son, he was their favorite, the best teacher they had in junior high, period. So I don't know if the rest of you, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands because you might embarrass him if you didn't raise your hands. Anyway, he taught for 10 years, and he was assistant principal for 5.5 years. In 2000, he accepted the principal's job at Yale High School. In 2002, he became principal at Hennessy High School, where he was just 1 year in that role, and he was asked to step into superintendent's role. He served Hennessy in that capacity for 3 years. Here's an interesting bit of information. During that time working at other school districts, we never moved from Stillwater. And in the spring of 2006, he returned to working as Stillwater's principal at Stillwater High School, a role he served for 16 years, which is the longest serving principal at Stillwater High School. That could have been a good trivia question right there. On July 1st, he became the superintendent of Stillwater Public Schools. His wife, Laura, is principal at Highland Park Elementary in Stillwater. She's the boss at home, I think, though. And their 2 daughters both graduated Stillwater High School, Kelsey in 2008, Kendall in 2013. And the big thing is, and I relate to this, he is currently 4 years into the best job of his life, grandfather to Otto Barker. So anyway, Uwe, come on up.
Test 1, 2, 3. Got it. Test 1, 2, 3. Got it. Thank you so much. It's so interesting, interesting times to talk about education, to say the least. After having gone through this last year and talking about the bond issue and all that, and I appreciate your support on that, those of you who voted yes, and those of you who voted no, I appreciate your no votes. We need to know what the issues are. But starting this year and for the rest of my career when I do these presentations, it will be the theme of We Are Pioneers. I appreciated all of you who volunteered to raise your hands that I had your kids in class or that I had you in class. That means a lot to me. But it means more now that most of you have worked with Stillwater Public Schools in some way. And so with that, all of you become pioneers, and you're a part of our culture. OSU's the big dog in town, but we have our role, we serve our purpose, raising families. And that's very, very important to me and to the people that work for Stillwater Public Schools. This is not just me saying I'm hanging out with the CEO of the chamber and the mayor, but these are both Stillwater High School graduates that I had the opportunity to work with. And I take great pride in that. And they're very, very helpful in the issues that we deal with in Stillwater Public Schools. And I just wanted to say thank you to them. I started out with, let's go to the problems that we're having first, get those off the table, because I want to be honest and transparent. Number one, funding for schools. Stillwater Public Schools has a unique situation. The 4 largest property owner businesses in town do not pay taxes. There are 88 churches that do not pay taxes. There are 48 dispensaries. That's just a whole other issue. I just wanted to throw that out there. They pay taxes, but there's a whole other strange thing about that. So, but all of those things create unique funding or other situations for us. So just to put that out there, You cannot compare Stillwater to almost any other community just because of the way it is. And we deal with it, and it's awesome. Wouldn't live anyplace else. Student behaviors right now. Last week we had the group from Kamioka to come visit the exchange program, 7 kids, 3 adults, and their superintendent came, and I asked him, I said, what is the biggest problem you're dealing with in Kamioka as far as students? Fortunately, and to my relief, he's dealing with some of the same 3 issues that we deal with: mental health, bullying, and kids just showing up for school. Attendance hasn't recovered quite yet after COVID. Right now, we have over 400 students who are seeing counselors from outside organizations. That's the most we've ever had. Yeah. Quality applicants. 23 on there is the number of emergency certified teachers that we have, which for most schools, they wish they had just 23. There are some schools in larger districts, their entire building is just emergency certified teachers. We get quality applicants. We have a great relationship with OSU who create wonderful teachers for us. Probably 6 years ago, it was traumatic for me because before that at the high school, I never had to hire an entry or teacher. I just didn't. I had quality people with great experience. The first couple student teachers I hired, that was a challenge to me. Now, if we had a student teacher that had that experience, we would love that. A lot of the training that's coming back for these emergency certs is coming back on us, and we'll take that. But it's a shift in how we develop our own teachers. And bus drivers, still an issue. Too soon, we'll just move on from that. It's like the bridge at the city. Too soon, we won't talk about that. And lastly, politics. SMH smacked my head. I cannot figure this one out. But it is a new and different challenge, and I'm sure he'll be in the news some more. What a great year last year. It was amazing. The bond issue, $195 million. We've already started moving on that. You're going to see some of the newest pictures. Last week we had 2 weeks ago we had a board meeting where they did a 3D rendering where you got to take a tour through the high school. So far, we're still working on it. But there's still some testing going on as far as the surfaces and grounds and all that, but we're getting closer and closer. They've had over 60 meetings with teachers, staff, students about what this building should look like, and it's exciting. There's still a lot of trees in the drawing, and I'm just can't figure that one out. There's another view of the front of the building. There'll be 2 entrances. The front where the students who drive or pick up, and that's what you'll see right there. The back was where the buses will drop off, and that'll be a loop. And those are not portables. They're on the right. Those are the art buildings. And to the art teachers, they wanted access to outside. So their students could go outside and do artwork there or use the outside nature things to draw and work with. This is the student center. Kids were excited about this. It's going to be a fun place. And they took the things that we do at the high school, the clubs, the activities, and they built that into the design. Last year, SPEF, our largest outside funding source, raised and contributed over $151,000 to our classrooms and buildings. That's amazing. SPEF is a great group. If you're interested, I have a flyer for you you can pick up at the end of the show. And they are wonderful. They're housed in our building and great to work with. 2 big recognitions last year. Stillwater, for the 7th year in a row, was awarded the best community for music education. Drummer, where's the drummer? Good job, pat on the back. And just to tie into that, with the Kamioka group that was here last week, I think they left I know they left Saturday morning, but the 3rd quarter drum line with the students and everybody, they were just going crazy. They had so much fun. I think at the end of the trip, they thought they were like movie stars because even the high school kids were high-fiving them and were excited about it. They were dancing. It was such a great cultural exchange, and it was just wonderful. Last year, the senior class didn't have the highest scores necessarily academically, but what they did have is the highest amount of money awarded in scholarships that any class at Stillwater High School has ever had. They earned over $5.1 million to go to college. Yeah, not too shabby. We sent a junior high robotics team, not just to the state championships, not to the national championships. We sent them to the world championships where they placed. We have a great STEM program, and we have a great relationship which takes those kids and moves them to Meridian, and they do a great job there with those STEM activities and STEM classes. We have students that are running a business through Stillwater High School. These students have enough credits to graduate, but they have disabilities, and they're allowed to stay through their 21st year of school. And so when they meet their graduation requirements, we thought, what do we do with them? And we've done this at Stillwater High School for years. But now they're officially a business. They're called the Pathfinders, and they'll come and do decorations for your office. They'll sell snacks to you. They'll work with your companies. They go to all the schools, but they're learning to run a business. They're learning to be good employees, and they're learning life skills. And this is a wonderful program. Last year, the spring musical was Curtains. And a couple of years ago, the state of Oklahoma started a program called the Discovery Awards. The first year that we submitted a student, we can submit a male and female best actor to that group. They meet in Tulsa for a week in the summer, and you can submit your play for awards. 2 years ago, we had the best actor in the state. After a week in Tulsa, he was also rewarded and got to go to spend a week in New York with the teacher and the other groups from the United States, and got to learn more about acting and the business of musicals. Last year, we didn't get to send any actors to New York. We had we had 4 actors that were nominated because we had 2 musicals. But our musical was submitted for the 11 awards that they gave at the State Discovery Awards. Of those 11 awards, Stillwater's High School's Curtains took first place in every category. Yeah, it's just weird. You can't make this stuff up in so many different ways. Last week, the girls cross country team was awarded the state academic champions, which means in 6A cross country girls, they had the highest GPA in the class. They were number 132 since the beginning of that award in 1992. Stillwater has won at least one of those every year since the beginning of that award. I think the class of 2014 or 15 won 12 that year. And so sometimes we're not the best in a sport or the fastest, but usually we are the smartest, and I'll take that one. This is my good friend Anna. She graduated last year, but she didn't get this award. She's just representing the seniors. Every year, the colleges in Oklahoma have to submit data, and one of those pieces of data is college remediation for incoming freshmen. Last year, Stillwater had the lowest college remediation rate of any high school in 5A, 6A, 4A, and 3A in the state of Oklahoma. That means our students are very, very well prepared. Usually we're in the top 3 or 4, but last year we were number 1. And I apologize because I'm a storyteller. There was a couple that came through about 5 or 6 years ago, and they asked for a tour if they could just roam the building. And I was like, no, you can't just roam the building, you know. And so we got to a place and we talked about the state academic championships, and the gentleman, they had graduated in the early 60s, and they were a lot of fun. But when I said the academic state champions, and he goes, oh, that's pretty easy. You could pad your grades. And I said, I get that. And his wife goes, oh my God, I can't believe you said that, you know. And I said, no, that's okay, because that was the other year that we had the number 1 lowest college remediation rate too. And I explained to them, and the wife looked at him and goes, maybe you should shut up. And I was like, it's just one of those. Athletically last year we had an amazing year. Up in the top left with his arms up, held up high is the state champion in cross country, and he also won the mile and 2 mile in track. On the far right you see the football team, state champions last year, first time since 1968. Down in the bottom left you see Mr. Hughes, and this is interesting because he is such a rarity, we thought. We thought it couldn't get better than being a 4-time state champion, undefeated for 4 years, never lost a match in high school. Until we have on the right side, we have a world champion U19. Not just our world, the entire world. Yeah, not too bad. Last year was the 3rd year in a row the wrestling team won the state championship. One of those years they were also the academic state champions. And then up on top in the middle, last year was the first time the girls won the state bowling tournament. And they are state champions. This is Adam. And if you, looking around the room, you guys are all smart, educated, you raised your kids well. Not everybody does. There are always issues for kids. There are struggles. Adam had a struggle. We weren't sure if Adam was going to make it to graduation or not. Now, when I say that, Adam is not special ed. He didn't have a hard time. His parents were very supportive. Adam's issue was Adam cannot be anywhere on time to save his life. And we weren't sure he would be at graduation in time to walk in with everybody else because we told him you can't run in late. And it was just one of those things. And that's a number of kids at the high school are like that. They just have an issue with time-space continuum. And Adam was one. I was giving a tour one day to a family they were recruiting at OSU, and Adam came running up to me in the hallway, and these parents had expressed a concern about their daughter struggling with issues and social and all this. And Adam came running up to me, and he goes, Mr. Gordon, I miss you. I said, Adam, I miss you too. And he goes, I've been on time for a week. And it was just the parents, he ran off and the parents just looked at me and they go, did you set that up? And I was going, I swear I did not. And they said, we feel good that our daughter's going to be okay here. But funny thing, I gave a presentation a couple of weeks ago and there was a professor from NOC and he walked up afterwards and he goes, I have Adam in class, he's still not getting there on time. And I was like, but if he made it on time to graduation, I told him we'd take a selfie together on stage and it was an honor. This year, what's new? Richmond Elementary was identified as a National Blue Ribbon School. I get to go to Washington, D.C. next week with a couple of the teachers and the principals, and we're going to get an award there with all the other Blue Ribbon schools in the country. It's an honor. Our FFA program has been one of the best in the state. We were one of the top 10 in the country, and last week we were identified as the #1 program in the country. Sanger Ridge Elementary School, last year I came and talked a little bit about this, some of the projects we're working on. In Sanger Ridge, we closed in all the open concept classroom schools. And it's a quieter place, they've adjusted. They took great honor in having the old classroom, open classroom idea, but with the issues that we have in Uvalde, kind of shut everything down and made it just a necessity. And so we built classroom walls, we closed things off, and everybody's doing well. It's a little quieter, which is okay. But the teachers at this point, from what I've heard, they're all pretty happy. We also built the middle school playground, put turf in, and again, that was kind of a side effect to building the new wing where it blocked off sunlight, then it became a mud pit. We have a problem. We put in new playgrounds. What's new? It's just not a pretty blue and gold picture there on the right. We have an aviation program now starting in 9th grade. And so a student will come in 9th grade, they'll get basic aviation, and then as they go through high school, they can continue that, and they can go in a multitude of directions related to aviation. They can go into, obviously, flying. They can go into drones. They can go into mechanics, and they can go into tower control. And so that's something we're helping, and we're working on our kids getting certifications and picking paths. On the left there, a few years ago, we identified with our students and teachers and community members, what is a pioneer? I asked that question to my students, who are you? They'd respond with pioneers. Sometimes when they're making popcorn, the Pathfinders, I'll say, what are you today? And he goes, I'm a pioneer. It's like, no, I mean, are you cooking? Are you bagging? That was cute. But we identified some of the ideas and concepts of what a pioneer is. And you can pick up one of these, and every kid got one this year. But it's something that we're going to continue to strive to stress to our students. Last week, the word of the week for the pre-Kers was kind. This week for the kindergartners, it's respect. And it's so much fun just listening to them talk about what those things are, and they're cute. But it's a great program. There was a group of seniors about 4 or 5 years ago when we put this together that we asked them, what you're getting ready to leave, what is a pioneer? And they wrote these two things. I'll let you read those. I'm not going to read those to you. And on the back of that card, there are 6 of those. And it's a discussion that we've always had with high school kids as you're getting ready to leave. It's just important to see what their view of it is. Now, a few years ago, I did a bulletin board called Pioneers That Rock, because we have right now, I'm looking at about 30 that I'm aware of, Stillwater High grads that are either on iMusic or iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, something. We know about the Rejects. They were just at the Zoo Amphitheater a couple weeks ago. We know about Stoney LaRue and Jimmy LaFave. Jimmy LaFave passed away just a couple years ago. He was a 1973 or 4 graduate of Stillwater High School. In the middle there, Isaiah is just getting started on the rap tour and got a big following. Other Lives is Jesse Tabish, who's come back to Stillwater now and is getting ready to start a School of Rock, working with OSU and the community. And in the middle, we have Wyatt Flores. Wyatt's mom works down at the board building. Wyatt ran around my office when he was about 2 or 3 years old. I would throw things at him just to get him out. But he was a great kid, ended up graduating from Stillwater High School. But I went to his mom a couple of weeks ago because I said, Shannon, you got to be kidding me. Wyatt is in Rolling Stone magazine. They had an article written about him. He sold out the Cain's Ballroom in Tulsa. He warmed up for Willie Nelson. And she goes, and it's even weirder. And I said, how much weirder can get than that? And she goes, he was invited to come up to Colorado to meet with the cast of Yellowstone. And I couldn't help myself. I said, did he get to hang out with Beth? Which he didn't, but they're working on getting him a role in the show to play sometime. And so that's exciting. Now, we also have, these are 2 albums that I have. The one on the left, in the 60s and 70s, the choir would make vinyl albums and sell those as a fundraiser. The one on the left, I believe was from like 1974, 75, maybe 73, somewhere in there. And our recently resigned board member, Camille Fry DeYoung, is on that album. And so she's famous. The one on the left is Dear People. This is a group of Stillwater High grads that graduated about 2002, 2003. And one of the big hits on this album was titled Dr. Gay Washington. Can't beat that. So Gay's famous too. These guys, I found this picture a mom posted. It was too cute, and she went into a long thing about how this is my son and his friends in pre-K, and they're all seniors this year. Yeah. And there was a whole series at that time of the year, and people posted things, and there were questions asked. My kid, and not this mom, but another mom posted, my son has been successful, he's been in trouble. And just these comparisons, he's been active, and he's had weeks where he's done nothing. He's had good grades, he's failed. Thank you to the schools for giving him all those opportunities. And I've always believed that the failure and the struggle is just as significant as the successes. We just celebrate the successes a little bit more. Lastly, these two thoughts are very important to me. Our schools are a reflection of all of our community, emphasis on all. It's always shocking to me because every kid comes through Stillwater Public Schools, and it benefits them because they learn how to deal with a variety of different people. And that's shocking to some parents. 6th grade is the hardest year because your son or daughter may have been the smartest kid at Westwood and not be in the top 10 in middle school. May have been the best athlete at Highland Park and not be in the top 10. It's an adjustment period. But those kids get to spend the next 7 years together in school, and by the time they get to the high school, they get to know each other very well. Now, if I'm correct, there's also the move-ins. And the move-ins have a special role in Stillwater too, because it's not an exclusive community, because we have a lot. And that's important too, because they bring in a whole lot of different perspectives. So it's a great place. And we are not perfect, but we are pretty darn amazing. Thank you very much. Any questions? Anything at all? Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Oh, yes.
Sorry.
You bet.
She gives fines if I
Got
don't
it.
have a mic.
Got
I was just going to say that slide where you presented challenges and you talked about 400 students being in outside counseling. I think that's a positive thing because to me, and you know, for several years, problems have existed and kids weren't getting treatment. But as a parent, I get your emails, so I know. But can you update everybody on the efforts Stillwater Schools has made to have efforts of connection in the district to get those kids to the care they need?
You bet. We have three providers that we work with: Creoaks, Payne County Youth Services, which deals with just secondary students, and Grand, or it used to be Grand Lakes. And Grand won the state contract a few years back, and they've been great to work with. It's interesting watching that too, because the struggle has been hard for them too, because they can't keep up with the demand. And I think part of that is I think people are more willing to realize their kids are struggling and to get them help. Now the 400, that was the number from 3 or 4 weeks ago. I would tell you it's higher now, and there's probably a whole group that won't report to us that their kids are seeing someone, they're taking them out of town or something, which that's fine, at least they're seeing somebody. But just the number of behaviors that we've seen, I would tell you along with that, and it's related but not related, is we've seen some issues too, because an increase, we're about 25, almost 25% of our student population right now are either special ed or on 504s. And that presents a host of issues as well. So our job is to take care of our students. Yes?
I'm a proud Senior 66 pioneer, yay. But I'm also a former teacher, and I know we're not supposed to be political, but what in the world is going on, and how are you affected by this crazy man? I'm sorry, this person who is the state superintendent now. Could you, I know you don't want to talk about it, but please do.
I would tell you that one of the benefits that I think, one of the reasons I got the job is that I've been in Stillwater for 40 years. And Scott had mentioned it, that I didn't take my family to Yale or Hennessy, not because of anything about those communities, but I went to 11 schools in 13 years. And when I came to Stillwater, my wife and I agreed this is where we're going to raise our family. Wherever we start, we finish. And I've learned about the Stillwater community, and I learn about it every day. And I think not everybody understands, even the people that live here don't understand it the way that I do. And I'm not saying, it's not that I'm right, it's just from my perspective. You know, I would never go to Terry and say, you know, you're running that business a little bit wrong. You know, that's his expertise. He runs a great business from my perspective, okay? But I get people all the time telling me we're not doing things right. But I think we do what's best for our community. The letter that I sent out was a policy that came from the State Department of Education that we have to tell parents, and I don't remember the exact phrase, but basically anything that's concerning, we have to call parents immediately. Well, most of you, and I always use most because I can't say all of you, but most of you, if a kid came home and said, Mom, pregnant, Mom, I think I'm gay, Mom, whatever, we would deal with that. We would deal with that with the love that we deal with our kids. Not everybody does that. And we just want to make sure everybody understands what our obligation is, because that's also a law. We have to report child abuse. We have to report when a kid comes to us and says, I'm afraid my aunt is going to beat me tonight when I come home for whatever reason. And so sometimes we take the opportunity to make sure that everybody understands that. We have multiple, on a weekly basis, we have multiple DHS calls. It's not monthly that we have one or two, it's weekly. We know who our DHS people are. We have SROs in the building who know these families that struggle. And in that letter, I just wanted to remind people that this is part of, this policy may be, parents get all this say, that's fine. But you have to handle it legally, and you can't beat your kid when they tell you. And I don't know why that was shocking and rogue of me. I got nothing on that one.
One more small one.
Okay, you're not going to tell me you love me again, are you?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Homeless students represents an issue. And I think it'd be surprising to everyone here to know how many students are identified as homeless, and what type of challenges does that represent for you guys?
Right now, we average about 300 homeless kids a year. And that's not meaning that they live under a bridge. That means they couch hop. That means they live in their cars, a variety of different things. I was always amazed when we found kids that were homeless at the high school. And I tell the story often about the two that lived in the Walmart parking lot when the McDonald's was over there by, when that was the only Walmart. They lived in the Walmart parking lot in their cars. They didn't know they were both living there. But when we found out about it, we went and talked to them and said, you're living in the Walmart parking lot? And they go, Mr. Gordon, we wash every morning in the bathroom at Walmart. We're not stealing anything. And we eat the food that people leave at the McDonald's. We don't steal from anybody. And I was like, that's not the issue. You're living in your car in the Walmart parking lot. And they go, but we take a shower every morning and we bathe in the bathroom. And I'm going, again, not the issue. And it was shocking. And when we found out, we worked with Payne County Youth Services. They have programs. We got them into apartments. We took care of them. They both graduated from Stillwater High School. Had another young man, who lived in a waiting room at one of the medical areas here in Stillwater. And his mom was abusive. So he would go home, she'd be drunk in the afternoon, he would take care of her, put her to bed, and then he would leave because she was afraid when she woke up that she would come after him. So he would hang out in this waiting room, and when we found out about it, we said, what's going on? He goes, the only thing I ever did was I took a shower in one of the rooms, but I was always clean. And I'm going, again, God, not the issue. But what we found out later was that is the issue. Kids don't come to school 2 days in a row because they have to wear the same clothes. They don't want to do that. That's when we expanded the pantry. You can get clothes. You can walk in and get whatever you need in the pantry. One of the things, too, about the pantry is we don't put things in there that are unique. The things that everybody in Stillwater has, Joe shirts, OSU shirts, Stillwater High School shirts, jeans, sweats, those are the things that we put in there. Because as big a heart as some of my kids have, they may walk up to a person who they donated a coat to and go, that was my grandmother's coat. She loved it. I'm so glad you're wearing it. And it had the biggest heart. But now everybody who heard that knows that that kid is wearing somebody's grandmother's coat. And that's something we have to take into account. Exactly. We had a large donation of those a few years ago. But yeah, we average about 300. But, and again, it's just not the pantry is the answer. We have a number of community services. We have a number of organizations in town. The police department, the city all work with us it's an amazing team.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.